A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Whew. You know, when they talk about super agents in world football. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined by Basia Michaels.
Hi, how are you, Luyolo?
I'm good. How are you doing, ma'am?
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I think the beauty about this conversation is the timing because, the transfer window is open, and...
Officially.
Yeah, officially.
Yes, no more speculation now.
Yeah. I get tired of speculation. I get tired of those. How do you handle those as an agent when people are trying to sell your players?
I close my eyes.
Yeah.
I must be very honest with you. I close my eyes because 90% of it is damaging.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things that people don't realize is footballers themselves are human beings. They have a huge set of emotions that go through them during this time. You're unemployed. That's the first and most important thing that people don't realize is you sit there as a footballer, you're unemployed. The market currently is saturated with free agents, and there's very little money being spent anywhere in and around South African football. So when you have a client that is sold on Kickoff, on Laduma, on whatever sports publication they want to be, and you know for a fact that none of this is true, you sometimes have to just close your eyes and let it happen, because I guess it's the nature of the beast at this point in time.
And when we look at it then, I'd like for us to take a trip down memory lane and let's have a look at when you were much younger. What informs the decision to study law?
My mother. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. It was second nature. I was very argumentative, but I was argumentative because my mother always used to say to me, you don't do anything without a purpose. So you should constantly, if you do something, why did you do that? So you have to have an answer for it.
Yeah.
So I guess that then kind of nurtured who I then became, and I studied law.
Yeah. And when do you then fall in love with the beautiful game?
I played football from a very early age, probably played football even before I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I grew up around a large group of young men, small boys. Kitswa Pefeni, essentially. Yeah. So Kitswa Pefeni, and football was there, and it just happened. I was able to play, naturally able to play, and I then found a professional team to play for. Yeah. And the rest is history from there on out.
And how is that?
It was great. Until I got to the point where my dad's strict. Doesn't play games, so it was like, this football thing is all good, but you do know that you're still going to school, right? Okay, cool. So you have to play a balance between both, and you do it, one, yes, to please your parents so that they can allow you to continue playing football, but two, you also just realize that the landscape of football for South African women is not something that you can live off, unfortunately. It's getting a lot better. They're making strides in what they're trying to do, but if you look at the men's game versus what the women's game is it's miles apart. There's still a long way to go, and I'm not sure under the right kind of leadership if we will get there, because of the difficulties that young women face. But it only time will tell. Only time will tell. There'd been talk of a professional league since I was 12. 20 years later, there's a professional league, but it took them very long. And it's professional in the sense that they call it a professional league, but it's not professional in the sense that it pays the girls to play football. Yeah.
So at which point then do you decide to merge football with law?
I don't know, I must be honest with you. It's not like I stumbled across it, but I met a few people within the industry. Yeah. I went to football matches. I just loved going to football.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the one thing became the next. It became the next, and then it's like, oh, you're a lawyer. Yeah. I have a contract. Can you help me? Okay, cool. And you get a contract, but they all standard. They all NSL standard agreements, and you kind of really can't do much about it besides add a provision here and there. And then you do one, you do two, and then somebody says, oh, but I have a friend, and now you're negotiating with NFT clubs. And somewhere along the line, my mother was like, but you can do this thing, right? And I was like, yeah, but not yet. Like, hold on, let me just do the corporate law thing first. And literally fast forward to where I am today, 90% of it has been my mother saying, okay, carry on. Yeah, carry on. Keep going. Yeah. And then you get to where I am today, and you look and you're like, so the first contract I did was definitely an NFT contract. I had a friend that played football for the University of Johannesburg.
Yeah.
I just graduated, and he had just been provided with an NSL contract, a basic salary, and they were like, here, we want to sign you, take this. And he was like, please read this for me and tell me. And I tried to change everything. I was like, this is not right, that's not right.
Yeah.
And then the chairman was like, oh, by the way, this is standard. It governs the whole league. Oh. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Ugh. You know?
Yeah.
And that was the start of a very fruitful journey.
Yeah. And how surprising was that? Because you obviously have a vast background with regards to contracts and contractual obligations.
It was very surprising. You work in a law firm in corporate Sandton, and you know what clauses have to govern a labor relation agreement. And in all of that, you find yourself in a situation where you're like, but this isn't right. Hold on, but this isn't right. But I understand why it was there.
Yeah.
The PSL essentially created the contracts to ensure that no club then goes outside of the contract. Because how many clubs, if they did not have the standard agreement, would turn around and do the right thing if they were not forced to? So I get why it's there, but then you go 10 steps ahead of them, and then you get contracts from professional teams. And yes, they have the basic structure of what the NSL agreements are, but the most important thing is they then govern the relationship that they have with the player by means of a handbook. Now that's next level in this game.
Yeah. So prior to joining QT Sports and navigating that world, how difficult was it, especially considering then that you're in a male-dominated environment?
It was very difficult. I must be honest with you, joining QT Sports was based on a conversation that I had with Tim.
Yeah.
I met Tim. I needed his help. Actually, I had a player, and I said, someone said, call Tim Sugazi, he'll help you. And I was like, really? So I called him, and I'm like, hi Tim, how are you? I have a player. This is my player. And he was like, oh, are you an agent? And I'm like, no, I'm not an agent. I just have a player because I helped him out of a contractual issue in the DRC, and he just needs to find a club. So Tim was like, oh, okay, cool, you can come see me. Gave me an address. Funny enough, he worked in Sandton.
Yeah.
I went, I sat down with him. He wasn't interested in the player.
Yeah.
But we had a conversation. 2 days later, he gives me a call. He's like, I need you to do something. Are you able? And I was like, yeah. What do you need? He's like, come to my office. And he introduces me to a player. And he says, can you finalize this negotiation? I've pretty much done 90% of everything else. I just need to make sure that when he signs, the club signs what I want him to sign. And then that was the first time I realized that the standard agreement is there for a reason, but he had an annexure to it, which is something that I use today. I've obviously changed it. I've altered it a lot to just ensure that it has what I wanted to have in it. But that's when I realized that this is a lot easier when you get somebody else to help you. You know? And that was how it started.
And speaking of Tim and speaking of help, how important was he in your first couple of months of adapting to this world?
He was extremely important. I don't understand, and I probably won't understand it. I mean, I sat down with him the other day. I just did a transfer not a transfer. I was doing an extension for Batusi Obas.
Yeah.
He's just signed a new 3-year deal with TS Galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's called God's favor. You can't explain it. It's the timing is not something that you can be like, I need to be at that corner at that time and it will pick me up.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So he was very important. And till today, I mean, yes, I've turned out to be who I am, which is great, and that's really lovely. But till today, thank you so much. but till today, I can't tell you what it was that then Tim was like, oh yeah, Basia, great. Would you you interested? Are you? It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, even when he first offered me the job, I was like, me.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I was like, but I'm still practicing. He was like, okay, don't worry, like, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. And then small strides from there into the next thing.
Yeah. So then let's go into contracts, because and I think this is one of the most important segments of this episode, because it's all about educating people, because from the outside looking in, we as fans, we think whatever we think about contracts, So how then do you formulate a contract from the beginning and then work it right up till the end? I'd like for you to explain in layman's terms, as if you're explaining to grade ones.
Look, the reality is, I think football's come a long way.
Yeah.
Every club now has what they then term their club contract.
Yeah.
On their club letterhead.
Yeah.
There are clubs that don't, which is nothing wrong. I mean, they still are used and are governed by the terms and conditions within the NSL agreement. But you have clubs. Well, I'm trying to think of a PSL club that doesn't do this, but I'm sure there may be one or two, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But every club you go to has their standard format. They have what they are, their T's and C's and everything else. And the negotiation factor in this then becomes the players' terms. The negotiation is never the governance of the employer-employee relationship.
Yeah.
That is not up for negotiation.
Okay.
They have what they feel is, as the employer, the basic terms of the employment. That you have to respect. It's like any lawyer in Santon.
Yeah.
Those terms are there because the Labor Relations Act governs those terms.
Yeah.
So all of that, every club has that for themselves. My job is to then essentially structure a deal that makes sense for my client.
Yeah.
So my client has X amount of needs, and this is what they want.
Yeah.
The club is willing to give you Y, and you create a brokerage between the two.
Yeah.
So the contracts, and I can tell you now, I mean, I was sitting with someone from Pirates when I just had to sign a deal. And for me, I know, and not that I know the contract like back to front.
Yeah.
I can just tell you what clauses I'm looking for in the contract.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it, with all due respect, is something that they want to govern the relationship that they have with the player.
Yeah.
And I have to be very mindful of that, because at the end of the day, the client is mine, but it is then their employee. So we have to be very mindful of that relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you're not mindful of that relationship, when that relationship breaks down, I then find myself fighting a losing battle.
Yeah.
If it is that my player is wrong or whatever it is, there's structures and things in place that ensure that we can deal with that.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you put a contract together purely based on the fact that I have a client, Luyolo wants 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the club is willing to give me 1, 2, 3, 4. And in all of that, I have to create a structure that makes both parties happy. And sometimes clubs just, okay, cool, that's what you want, sharp, that's what we'll give you.
Yeah.
But very rarely. But yeah, it does happen.
Yeah. And which are some of the standard clauses would you have within a contract?
For my client, basically for their salary.
I think that's the most important one.
Look, it also depends, man. It depends on the type of transaction.
Okay.
It depends if let's say the club is in Joburg but the player is from Cape Town.
Yeah.
One of the things you look for is an accommodation allowance. You know, 2 flight tickets back home, the ability for the player to be able to come here with their family.
Yeah.
Also depends on how much money they make, and in the amount of money they make, do they then get their own separate accommodation? And if they then opt to do that, but they had an allowance, can you take the allowance? It's a plug and play, and like I say, you have to look at it for what each player needs.
Yeah.
You can never look at it and say, I have 10 clauses, and I take all 10, please.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work like that. I make sure that every transaction that I negotiate is catered to the player's needs.
And speaking of the negotiation factor, and I think this is what a lot of people would like to know at home, how do you, with the club, get to an agreement with regards to the salary and maybe the signing on fee and maybe the fee for the player himself? How does that all work? Because I obviously do know with the fee for the player, the 2 clubs would be involved. Do you get involved at that level as well?
You genuinely, yes.
Yeah.
You get involved to just ensure that the club, because don't forget, the club that you are taking the player from and you're taking the player to, is you have a relationship with this club, because I mean you've given them a player. This is the player that they have this relationship, and you are now saying, I'm transferring my player to this club. Can we broker a deal? Yes, they are called club to club agreements, but if you're good at what you do, I know for a fact I've done a large number of them, and I've never had the club speak to each other. I did everything. I did everything from I was told, hi, how are you, this is the player you want, you tell me that, perfect, fine, I go, I get the player, I come, hi, these terms, price, exchange, transfer, time, date, payment, cool. And the 2 clubs have not, the one club chairman could probably not even have spoken to the next club chairman, right? But that comes from the fact that there is a trust. From 1, the transferring club, and 2, then the buying club. But they trust me to be able to carry the transaction out. And when you have that kind of trust, you can easily work within the confines of what the rules are of the NSL, and ensuring that you have a transaction that works out well. You know?
And then, so we go from that, then we now have a look at a signing on fee. How do the dynamics of a signing on fee work? Because a lot of people would be like, oh, he's gonna get X amount, you know, and these are people on social media, and you're like, hey man, you're sitting at home. What's the signing on fee?
I would really love to know. Like, I must be honest with you. I sat on a space the other day. I can't remember whose space it was. And they were like, we know that there's a player at Chiefs and that player is earning 850,000 rand a month. I was like, oh, okay, really?
Because when you do the maths.
No, look, it's impossible. The other thing, with all due respect, is the South African market doesn't have the transparency that you see in overseas markets. In an overseas market, a player is transferred, is bought, he's taken to wherever, Man City, Manchester United, wherever the player is taken to, and you are told the player's salary. We all know today how much money he earns and what his returns are, and if he does this, he'll get X, but we don't have that in South Africa. And because we don't have that, people are then left to speculate. And the speculation is what causes all the trouble that you see in and among soccer players' lives. On a very serious note, and it's actually painful to see a player, wherever they play, you know, just because you're a soccer player, you are perceived to be making a lot of money. You might not be making a lot of money, but you're perceived because you're a soccer player, you're on TV every week, you make the national team, you're playing week in, week out, and you're doing all these amazing things. But let's be honest, maybe you took a contract from an NFD team to go to a PSL team just as a chance. You were saying, you know what, even if I earn 10 rand, I'm doing this because I want to showcase my talent.
Yeah.
And it does get to that point. There are a lot of players that want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and after the showcase, now you want to work for then what you're entitled to.
Yeah.
That happens. But the public is so misinformed.
Yeah.
And they're misinformed based on the premise that they really are not, there is no transparency.
Yeah.
But there can't be transparency in the South African market. We can't have the transparency that is had overseas.
Yeah.
Because you know Luyolo Sharp, you signed for Chiefs.
Yeah.
And when people know that you're earning 300,000-400,000 rand, the next thing Mangwa Nikole, and then her friend that changed your nappy once, that came twice, now they want.
Yeah.
You know? But you look at it and we're young, we're black, and we find ourselves, we come from homes that don't essentially have everything.
Yeah.
And we come from families that are dilapidated from the next person to the next person to the next person.
Yeah.
You know, lucky are those who come from families that have good structures and can just, let's say, make it. Not even just they're rich. No, they can just make it. Now you have to then start providing for all these people.
Yeah.
But then it becomes an expectation. So when, as an individual, as a human being, and why do we put footballers under that much pressure? Why is it that we create a world where we expect them to automatically provide for us as home and households and parents, and just because I changed your diaper or I walked you to your first football lesson, and I'm like, thank you for all of that, but now why do you need to know how much players are earning?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So how then do you substantiate how much a certain player should be earning? Is there, I know this could be difficult, is there a way in which we figure out that, okay, he sort of gives you a potential of X amount of goals, X amount of assists, a season? What metric is used to substantiate and justify a player's salary?
I wouldn't say that there is a metric. You know, probably one of the biggest issues that we have, and it's probably worldwide, unfortunately, as well. Yeah. I'll give you an example. If a club at NFD is selling a player, when the club is selling, the NFD club is selling a player to a PSL team, let's say that PSL team ended bottom at maybe number 12, 11, you know, they're willing to take R1 million for the player. But then Sundowns comes, and it's like, no, the player's value is 12 million. From where? Yeah. You see? Yeah. And that is what's happening across the board, is club owners, especially when players at NFD are not guided in terms of the contractual relationship with the club owner, when there is no transfer or buyout clause that is put in that contract. You know, when none of that exists, it then becomes discretionary upon the person who is selling. Yeah. You know? So urikisa tez, maro irikisa ka price ya Farar. Yeah. Just because you're trading your tez in at the store ya ko Farar. Now you want to, I mean, maybe the owner that owns a Ferrari store, his grandfather had a Tez and this is what he likes. Yeah. But now just because you're trading it in here, you want more money for it. But where did you get it? How did you get it? You know, and that then starts becoming the difficulty. Yeah. You know, and that then starts giving us the platform of how players are then paid. Yeah. But players are paid by means of a negotiation. And yes, you could find somebody who's at NFD that is a top goal scorer, and you send them to a PSL team, and you can't turn around and now all of a sudden want triple figures. Yeah. You can't. You also as the agent, you have to manage the growth, because when you don't manage the growth, you're asking for the kid's downfall. If you don't manage the growth, you have to manage the growth. You can't have somebody earn a salary, and it's a reality. It happens, unfortunately. You can't have somebody earn a 6,000 rand salary at NFD, and then you take him to a PSL team, and now all of a sudden you want 60,000. Yeah. Because when he buys a Golf 7 and then Waichaisa and he dies, now what do we say? Araba ring. You understand? Yeah. So you also have to be very mindful of it. You have to guide it. and it's very important to guide that growth.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have somebody earn 60,000. Yes, you play in week in, week out, and you're doing wonderful things. You can't tomorrow earn 300,000.
Yeah.
You can't. And I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it as an agent. I'm saying it as a human being, because you don't know what to do with that amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, and because you don't know what to do with that amount of money, you start doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
And when you start doing the wrong things, your career ends.
Yeah.
You know, and people have, and that's why I say to you, is the public is so misinformed about the perceptions they have of footballers. You know, the difficulties that they go through, and the struggles that they face, especially outside of football.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy. Footballers find the easiest part of their employment is on the grass. You know, it's outside. Once you get into your car and you drive home, and when you get home, now there's a long line of people that you have to help. But the reality is, if you were an attorney working at Bowman's, and you earned that exact same salary, why is the pressure not the same? Why is the pressure not the same?
Yeah. What's the difference between a buyout clause and a release clause?
I don't think there's a real difference. The other thing is, without the regulation of some of these things, especially in South Africa, because a lot of it has to be done by SAFA, and it has to then trickle down. Because a lot of that isn't done as well as it's done, you then find fancy terminology. You know, but at the end of the day, a release clause, I think a lot more is the regulation of that is overseas. Because what it says is Luyolo's a player and they want 10 million euros, and that releases him from the contract. All another team has to do is pay the 10 million and you're out. Same thing. It's buying you for that value. You know? But people then always have their own intricacies, and now people want to act clever, and, you know. So we look at it and you're like, oh, okay, that's smart, nice.
They've triggered. That's what they say.
No, there's no such thing. You know, there's no such thing. But once again, it goes back to the fact that people are so misinformed. People are very misinformed about what happens in the boardrooms when we're sitting negotiating players' contracts, when we're sitting negotiating the terminations. People are so misinformed by the fact that you see footballers, and I mean it happens all the time. It doesn't matter what level of qualifications anyone has. Even if you're not qualified, you still want to tell the coach what to do. How? How? I don't get it. So yes, and this is why I say the perceptions are just so warped, because you have 10 million fans that are watching a game. You know, you essentially have 10 million different views. You will not have the same view. Doesn't matter. Even if Basia scored the greatest goal in that game, someone will say, Maranile like, Did you see the way the ball bounced and then she was looking there? It's perception. And that's one of the biggest downfalls of our industry. I've noticed it a lot more in the spaces. Is you have so many different views, and a lot of them are misinformed. And you're just like, okay. But at the end of the day, you know, it's a free country. We have a constitution that governs your freedom of speech. By all means, please carry on.
So you had mentioned termination, you know. So what happens when you get a club from Club A, and Club A wants to maybe release a certain player, but player X still has maybe 2 years on his contract. How is that process like with regards to settling and the termination?
I say this very often. You never want to be in a relationship where someone doesn't want you. So it does not help for you to become hard-headed. No, I still have 2 years, I want my money, I'm going to stay. Because at the end of the day, you struggle. You suffer with your mental health, you don't get paid on time. You know, there are all these tricks, and the tricks are within the confines of what governs the football laws. They really are. Because football laws state basically that you get a clearance, or you get pushed to terminate, you get breach of contract, and you essentially ensure that you get paid out. But you have to wait for your second month not to be paid. So come the 31st of that month, you don't get paid. It's drawn out for 7 days. You have to write a letter of demand. Your letter of demand needs a response within 10 days. The 10 days then lapses. You have to draft now a statement of claim. So you're going through that process. But throughout Nakoyo Kaufela, you are not getting paid.
Yeah.
You have bills to pay. Your car repayment is, you've got kids. You've got all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then just as it's about to get to the door of DRC, they pay you that salary.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, sorry, we didn't know we didn't pay you. See, Joe, you know? So for me, 90% of the time, and I say it to my players, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself in a situation where you know you won't play. The coach doesn't want you, the management doesn't want you, the owner does. Whatever the situation is, it happens. It's sad, it's not nice, it's unfair, but we can't cry over spilled milk.
Yeah.
It's have a conversation with them. Hi guys, how are you? Can we get X amount as a termination fee? Perfect. We agree. You agree. Great. Can we work it out in installments so that I can pay my things for the next 6 months or 3 months or whatever it is, however you structure it. And in the meantime, I then take you and we look for another club. Yeah. Because we can then find you a new home, you know, and that's the most important thing that has to happen. Yeah. You can't hold on to it, because at the end of the day, you won't have the right peace of mind. Yeah. You know, and that's the biggest problem with football. And people don't realize it. And I don't think there are enough conversations about it amongst coaches, amongst players, among people that work in football. The level of mental health that is required for people that work in football is a lot. You know, and we're not having the right conversations about that. Yeah. We're not being mindful of the fact that a coach can win 15 games, can win all their games, or do whatever they do, and they lose the one game that they needed to win. Yeah. You lose the one game that you needed to win, and all of a sudden you're not good enough. All of a sudden, no. Can we get what we want to fire him? And now you have fans chanting. Yeah. You know, because fans wanted CAF Champions League Cup. You know, and that was the missing piece of the puzzle, and you couldn't deliver it. Yeah. But now people all of a sudden want to turn around and say, no, fire him. It's not normal. Yeah. It's not normal. And also, with all due respect, the people that are calling for you to be fired as a goalkeeper, you know, you fumble a ball and it goes into the back of the net. The people that call for your head are the fans. You know, the people that see you in the streets are the fans. Yeah. You know, and now you start asking yourself, I know for a fact that there've been players that I manage where they turn around and they're like, I'm not going to the shop today. Yeah. Just today I'm not going to the shop because there's a lot going on. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And my question is, when are we going to start dealing with those kinds of things? Because the sooner we start dealing with that, the sooner we start fixing the misconception that the public have about the way things happen, the sooner I think we'll probably find a lot of happiness, you know? And I think we'll also start creating and cultivating an industry that then puts human life first. Football's great. Football's lovely. Football's amazing. Trust me, like, football is one of those things that make our hearts tick. Yeah. But not at the cost and the expense of people's mental health. Yeah. And it becomes very damaging, because you can tell that players don't even want to interact anymore. It's sad when a player has to delete like all their social media accounts, and just basic human rights are taken away from them because of poor performances, or even then at times the public feel like maybe you're not performing, you know, to a certain level, you know. But when we look at it then, I want us to go into image rights. You know, what is that and how does it work? Because there's a lot of people who talk about image rights on Twitter, on Spaces, on social media, you know. So I'm one person who believes in breaking down things and demystifying. You know, I don't like nonsense. You know, I like it when we get educated and we know what's what. So image rights are essentially the tax compliant word for sign-on fees. Because you can't go to the taxman and say, I'm paying this guy R500,000 rand because he signed my contract. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. So it then becomes an image and autograph right. It is a right that you are entitled to in terms of the employment relationship, in terms of your contract of employment, for doing X amount of requirements for your image, for providing your autograph X amount of times for the image that you pertain and you hold amongst the club. That's the basis of it.
Yeah.
It's not as fancy as it sounds.
Yeah.
It's really not as fancy as it sounds. It's just an additional form of revenue for players.
Yeah.
It's an additional form of remuneration as opposed to paying a player R1 million a month.
Yeah.
You know, which doesn't happen. I'm just giving an example. you would
it doesn't happen. You heard it from a super agent. It doesn't happen, guys.
No, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Their players don't have those kinds of salaries, with all due respect. But you get to a point where you want to remunerate a player for the additional work that they do and the amount of hard work that they put into it, you know, because they are then creating an image, and that image looks good for the club, and this is why we're giving you X amount of money more.
Yeah. And how do you feel about some of the negative connotations that come with agents, you know, because there's a lot of people who may feel like agents destroy careers. They're the ones who decide who goes where. No, maybe, for example, Basia sold that player to Club X because she had her own interest first. What do you make all of that about all of that? Because, like we mentioned, that a lot of people are so misinformed. So it's very easy for people to feel like you've now destroyed Liolo's career because you sold him to Club X.
When people have, with all due respect, something to say about agents, you have to take it. You take it on the chin. Especially because of the fact that I am an agent. But I then take exception when you say, Basia, you are like this. No. Classified as agents. Agents are useless for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you've seen me do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then come to me and say it. But when you haven't seen me do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then don't say that I'm useless. You know, I unfortunately I'm not the flagship for agents. I'm not the torchbearer of agents. I'm not. I might be doing as well as I'm doing now, and trust me, that all of it is by God's grace. I might be able to do everything that I've done differently or do it better, but that then once again becomes a lesson, you know. For me, the biggest issue we have with agents is the fact that this industry is not regulated. When you have no regulation of an industry, when you have no rules to govern you, when you have no acts that hold people liable, you then turn around and find that there are people that try by all means to do whatever it is that they want to do as an agent. And yes, they do mess up people's careers. But that is because there is no regulation, there's no governance, there's no accountability. You know, I get so many DMs about, hi, please teach me how to be an agent. Hi, please. And for me, the first and most important thing that I want to ask people is, why do you want to be an agent? 90% of the time, I must be honest with you, their answer is, it looks like it's a cool job. It's not. It's not. One, it's a thankless job. Right? It's very seldom that you find people that are grateful for what you do for them, and the changes you make and the livelihood that you create. You know, it happens. You find, I'll give you a very great example. If there's somebody that I know didn't have to be, like, not even coached into saying thank you or anything, was the minute Zita, Zita, I did what I did for Zita because of who he is. Do you get what I'm saying? Zita, I mean, I'll give you him and Veli Motor. Stupid example. I fly to PE, and the cars are like all booked out. I don't know what was happening that weekend, and I take an Uber. As I'm in the Uber, Veli's like next to me, kind of thing. I'm going to wherever I'm going, and he stops the Uber, and he's like, but why couldn't you ask me to fetch you? And I'm like, my guy, you know, Zita. I get to Cape Town, I move to Stellenbosch because I need to do something, and I'm like, hey man, I'm around, want to grab just a drink, want to have something to eat, and then I'm going back to Cape Town. He'll take me. You know, they are, and those are the thank yous. No one has to turn around and say thank you. It's not, like I say, it's a thankless job. But the most important thing about this job is because you hold people's livelihood in your hands, within your possession and within your ability. Don't do it for the glamour. It's not glamorous. It might look glamorous. And the reason it looks glamorous is because people believe that you spend a lot of time with footballers and this and that and the other thing. It's not glamorous. The reality is, God, for me personally, has put us on this earth as agents and as proper agents, because they are a handful of us, but we know what we're doing. This is not a side hustle. It's not something I do after I'm done being a tenderpreneur or I'm done hustling. No, this is what I do 24/7, 365, and because I do it every single day, I then understand the difficulties that people go through. You then understand that you hold people's lives in your hands. Their ability to provide not only for themselves but for their families and their extended families is something that is on your shoulders. It rests on your shoulders. And you then want to turn around and say, I want to be an agent because it looks nice. Don't play that game with me. I'm not here for that. You know, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to teach people how to spend their money. You're supposed to teach people what to spend their money on. You're supposed to teach people how to save, invest. You are essentially there for a short period of time to help them extend their finances to post 60, but they're not going to be playing at 35. They won't be playing at 35. So what difference are you there to make? That is always my question. Why do you want to be an agent? And people can't give you that answer. And the minute you can't give me the answer, the minute you don't realize that you have been put in this position to serve others, don't do it. Because it's not for you then.
So what happens when Club A and Club B, they want Leolo, but Leolo calls Basia and says, Ish, I'm not interested, you know, because we've seen a lot of those situations where maybe a certain club wants a certain player from a certain club, and you find the two clubs are more or less in agreement, but the player is not happy.
Then the player doesn't go. I think it's very important for people to understand, and once again, it's fixing a misconception. Is the player is the client. I'm not the client. The player is essentially the owner of the vehicle. I'm just the chauffeur. I drive it. You know, and you then determine the destination as the owner. But I could turn around and say, but I know a better way, or I could turn around and teach you one or two things that you didn't know. It doesn't change the fact that I don't ever, and I stand to be corrected, but I don't force you into making a move to a club that I feel is more beneficial for me than it is for you. 90% of the time in an instance like that, I can tell you that there's no benefit for me. I can be very honest with you. But you also don't do it because you then get a player to wherever he didn't want to go to and he then ends up going there. 6 months down the line, you now faced with a problem. And you can then not transfer the player. Let's say you have Club A that wants a player, and the player is a brilliant player, but the player does not want to go to Club A. I don't waste anybody's time. I ask you, are you sure you don't want to go? Are you sure? Very sure. Very, very sure. Sharp, you've made your decision. And then I tell the club. Because everybody must understand that there are consequences. If you turn around, and this is why I'm probably as good at my job as I am, is you have to balance the relationship. I can't turn around and say, Bongani, Loyolo doesn't want Tabakli. Forget it, and throw my hands at it. You can't. You have to balance the relationship. Because if and the other thing happens is maybe the player is wanted by various teams. Then you can choose the club that you want to go to. But if you're not wanted by various teams, it's either you stay where you currently are or you move. Those are your choices.
Yeah, guys, we're getting educated on today's episode. thoroughly enjoying it. So let's have a look at dealings. Is there a difference between dealing with small clubs and bigger clubs?
No. I don't. There is this term of small clubs and big clubs, but for me, I have the utmost respect for any club owner.
Yeah.
Any club owner, be it from the top all the way to the bottom, even at NFD level.
Yeah.
You know, because people take their hard-earned money and they put it into football. You can't turn around and show any kind of disrespect to any club owner.
Yeah.
You know, but I then have to also say that if I'm disrespected, trust, I'm not somebody to sit there and pretend like everything's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not that person.
Yeah.
And I know, for me, I draw my lines. And I draw my lines very clearly.
Yeah.
If we can work together, let's work together.
Yeah.
If we can't, then say you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
You know, because then we don't have to play games with each other. Trust me, if you say to me, Basia, I don't want to work with you, I want none of your players, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Then I won't bother you. I won't ever pick up the phone and ask you, would you like to sign a 19-year-old left wing when I know that you need a left winger?
Yeah.
I won't even waste my time doing that for you.
Yeah. And on a lighter note, do you ever come across transfer hijackings?
Transfer hijackings, no, I don't. I don't know of any transfer hijackings. Look, I just think that we don't. I know I was recently called a hijacker, by the way. But yeah, next question. Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move now and have a look at some of your clients. We do know that the window is open, you know, and quite a few of your clients, you know, have been, you know, in the news and they've made transfers. We will then start with Uzita. You know, how hard has he had to work, because he came from Kaizer Chiefs, developed from Kaizer Chiefs, but at that stage he didn't make the grade to obviously play for the first team. He's had to go out, he's worked hard, you know, he was at Chipper United, at point he was at Wits, then Stellenbosch. So how hard has he had to work to ensure that he gets back to Kaizer Chiefs?
I don't, and I think I should put it out there, because I don't want anybody, Stellenbosch or Wits or anybody that Zita has played for, to ever think that the goal was always to get back to Chiefs. No, it wasn't. There was never I'm going back to Chiefs goal. You know, Zita, born and bred Soweto boy, has the heart of what a player has from Soweto. Yeah. You know, he's hardworking, he's humble, he's got all the attributes that it takes to succeed. Yeah. And not too many people know this, and I think it's one of the greatest stories of Zita, so I really hope he doesn't mind me sharing it. Yeah. When Zita had to go out on loan to Tanda, I remember he had a Facebook status. And there was a book, I actually can't remember the book that he was reading, from Joburg to then going down to Tanda Royal. Yeah. But the caption of it was when Chiefs sent him out on loan, he was shattered. Yeah. He was absolutely shattered that Chiefs sent him out on loan. He was unhappy about that. But he made the conscious decision to then say, look, you're being sent out on loan. It's a path that you have to walk it. Yeah. You know, and then from there you don't know what tomorrow holds. And he then slowly, I mean, let's be honest, Zita has transitioned from being a no-nonsense right back, Otama Kinyamba to the Shibobo, to then a very comfortable captain, centre back of Stellenbosch. And you can count these words. I know for a fact that Zita will captain Chiefs. I can comfortably tell you that. I put it there. You know, because
really, guys, you had it here fast, exclusive. I'm joking.
Because I trust them. Yeah. You know, I've seen Zita grow into a beast. Yeah. You know, and I must admit, I can say the same thing about Veli. Is you walk a journey with people for a period of 6 years, and you watch them transition from from somebody, I'm not saying that they were essentially meek when all of this started.
Yeah.
But they had flaws.
Yeah.
You know, and in them having flaws, they've then stepped up their game to correct the flaws. They've worked harder. They've put in the extra hours at the gym. They've said no to the party. They've said no to the constant nights out. You know, they've made the right choices to get them to where they are today.
Yeah. So the next player, this is a player who I know a lot of Kaizer Chiefs fans are still very sort of upset that, you know, he's left Kaizer Chiefs. You know, a player who I think is one of the most talented within his generation is Dumisani Zuma. But we do know that he's obviously had his troubles here and there, and things have not quite panned out, you know. But the beautiful thing about life is that life always gives us a second chance, you know, and he's just currently joined Amazulu. So what do you make of his time at Kaizer Chiefs?
It's a lesson. Excuse me, it's a lesson. I think we at a stage in our lives, all of us, unless you're in primary school or there.
Yeah.
When you get a red pen, you just like, oh, why are you using a red pen? It's wrong, it's right. Life doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Post school, post mark, there's no tick, there's no cross.
Yeah.
You know, so he's learned the lesson. I personally know that he's learned the lesson, and we move on from there.
Yeah.
It's definitely not something that will bring him down. I can comfortably tell you that.
Yeah.
Because he has the ability.
Yeah, no,
Dumisani
definitely.
is probably one of the very most talented footballers that come out of not only Pietermaritzburg, but probably South Africa. You know, but it goes back to the thing that I said to you earlier: is we're not looking after our players as a society in terms of their mental health.
Yeah.
We're not doing the right things for them to be able to succeed as a society.
Yeah.
But it's also not for, and this is something my mom asked me once, is what makes you believe that it's society's responsibility for players to prosper?
Yeah.
You know, my mom was very critical of me growing up.
Yeah.
But I look at that criticism, and it's a tough love thing.
Yeah.
You'd get good marks, you know, and mom, you'd get 80%, 90%. And my mom's like, so where's the other 10? And I'm like, shop. You know, or you do well. And it's like, and then?
Yeah.
You know, but then I got to a stage where I then myself started knowing that I have to raise the bar. I have to, you know, and you don't applaud a fish for swimming. You really don't. But we have to, as a society, start getting to a point where we also don't need to be killing soccer players. Yeah. We need to guide them. We need to essentially understand that they're human. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. So how does the opportunity for him to join Amazulu come about?
There's some things I can't tell you here,
okay.
But I commend Dumisani for how we worked it out. Yeah. I know for a fact that there were a few bumps in the road, but I commend him for holding on and sticking his decision out, because he made the decision to join Amazulu. Yeah. He said to me, I'm going to Amazulu. He said it to me. He didn't ask me. He said, I'm going. And I was like, so what do I do here? And he's like, no, I'm just telling you I'm going to Amazulu. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. You know, and then the rest becomes for me to work. But it becomes very easy for you to do the work that I do when a player gives you the latitude to get that work done. Yeah. Because we all know what Dumisani can do. Yeah. We all know what he can give you.
Definitely. And then a player who was one of my favorite players in the past season, you know, and a player who I really, really admire, you know, and I feel like his journey is very synonymous to that of Zita, you know, Miguel Tim. You know, this is one of my favorite players within the Dstv Premiership, and a player, when you look at, I think he really embodies perseverance. And I mean, you look at his journey and how he's had to put in the hard yards and building it all the way up to where now he's at Orlando Pirates. And he then even personally said that this is a dream come true. And when he utters those words, one could feel that this man has always wanted to play for Orlando Pirates. What has the journey and the relationship with Miguel Tim been like?
It's been a short journey, I must admit. Yeah. I was very, very surprised to then learn that Miguel didn't have an agent in the beginning of this year. I gave him a call very late at night. I don't know what possessed me to do it. Gave him a call. I got his number from someone and I said, "Hi, how are you? My name is Basia." And he was like, "Oh, hi, I don't know you." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Can I tell you who I am?" And he was like, "No, I'm joking. I know exactly who you are." And I was like, "Cool. Can I see you?" And that was the start of it. But I look at Miguel's journey because Maritzburg, Chippa, Gallants, coming back from the USA to then come back and be a part of South African football. You look at his journey and it all embodies passion. And not too many people understand it. Miguel actually went to school with my little brother, Karabo. So when I signed, I called Miguel and I said to him, "Look, I'd like to meet you." And we met. We met at my dad's house. And when we met at my dad's house, my brother was walking up the stairs. And Miguel's like, "I know that guy." "Yeah, he's my brother. He told me you guys went to the same school." You know, it was funny because my brother then said to me, before I signed Miguel, we're watching Miguel play for Gallants. And he said, "That's my friend. His name is Miguel." And I'm like, "Yeah, his surname is Tim, hey." And he was like, "Why don't you sign him?" I was like, "Why don't I sign him?"
Well, why don't I sign him?
Why don't I sign Miguel?
Why don't I sign him?
Okay, yeah, whatever. And literally, fast forward to a few months later, and I actually signed Miguel. And I even told Miguel, I said, "This is so funny. Let me tell you something that's so funny." My little brother was like, "I went to the same school as him. Why don't you sign him?" It's just, not that it didn't click to me, but I didn't expect that Miguel's journey, being as difficult as it is, has been a difficult ride because of an agent. Because of the difficulty that he had to go through with somebody. You know? But lo and behold, I then get this done for him, and even he was like, "Wow, okay, thank you. Like, this is different." He said it. He was like, "This is different. This is not what I'm used to," and I do think that being female allows me to have a different touch and a different element to all of this.
Definitely. So, what are some of the challenges that you face as an agent during a transfer window? Because I know it's the noisiest time.
I wouldn't say it's the noisiest time. Look, I do this 365. So you watch your players when they're playing. You see them not playing. You see when a player gets substituted and throws his hands. You see when a player plays or misses a goal, or you see when a player cries. Or you watch all of that, because if you're not attentive to that, you're then not paying attention to the product, right? And throughout all of that, it then governs your next step. You know, when your player is on fire and everybody's raving about him, man of the match, captain, does this, does that, you can then comfortably pick up the phone and say to Chiefs, "Would you like to sign Zita?" And they're like, "Zita, really?" We'll think about it, we'll get back to you. Okay, cool. You know, but it's because you're following them. It's because you're watching it. You have people that work for you that are watching football, that are watching the games, that are sending you the clips, that are highlighting things to you, that are showing you something, because I'm not a one-man band. I have a crew of people that work with me. You know, I work for them, but they work with me. And in us working together, we are then able to see the things that someone can see something that I missed. You know, and you look at it and you're like, "Wow, thank goodness that I have somebody that can like help me do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's very important to ensure that you're not running out of your boot. I mean, I have an office, a fully fledged office, and you have everything you need at your disposal as a client.
And how difficult then is it having to manage so many players within your roster?
It's not difficult at all. I'm not a one-man band. I run a back office. I have people that work for me. You know, we work together and we essentially know what the end goal is. If I was a one-man band, it would be very difficult. Trust me, I would not even get to this kind of roster. But I don't work alone. You know, I have I have people that essentially remind me to, hey, pick that up, you dropped that, hey, put that there, it needs to go there. It's very important. And that's the thing is, I might be the agent, but I'm not the agency.
Yes.
You know, I have an agency. We all work together to ensure that there is a greater good that is achieved.
So we now head off to the nice segments, the lighter ones. My favorite segments. So we'll start with the Coach's Corner. So in the Coach's Corner, I just want some of your favorite coaches. You know, we don't have to do it in order, but just some of the coaches that you like of all time in South African football. Doesn't necessarily have to be a coach that maybe won so many trophies, but maybe you just liked his style of play. Maybe you just liked how he just handles players and his man management skills. So which are some of the coaches which you admire? I
don't think I have, with all due respect and admiration for coaches, I don't. No, and you need to hear me out. I know that they go through and they walk such a difficult journey. You know, that it would be remiss of me to turn around and pretend like what they do is glamorous when it's not. They struggle. Coaches go through a lot, and I don't think people realize it. I can't turn around and say in the past, or maybe currently I could have a few. I'll give you an example. I manage Coach Brandon Trutter. But I manage him because I think him and I get along well enough. I started managing him from his days at Richards Bay, right? And then we went from Richards Bay, we went to Swallows. He promoted Swallows. He then PSL Swallows, and now he's at Amazulu. He had then the short-term contract of employment to then get the 3-year contract of employment. But I like his style of play. I like his philosophy. I love the fact that he's a God-first guy. You know, it just informs the decisions. But I most importantly appreciate the fact that he's somebody that listens. You know, and I can speak to Coach Brandon and he listens. Not about players or anything, just the basic conversation, just life. And no, coach, don't do this way, do this. Don't buy that Ferrari, buy this Porsche. You know, something like that. But it's very important.
Or a Mazda. I know. That's been the big one, the Mazda. So sorry. So
coaches, I have an admiration for Rulani. I think he knows it. I really do. We know he's been your guest.
No, but you're part of the family. Everybody who comes to Diski Talk with Leo, once I invite you, it's not just an invitation for an interview, but it's an invitation to join the family. So
I have an admiration for Rulani, and I'm gonna put it out there. I've had a number of conversations with him, but I think the one conversation that resonates with me the most was him saying something to me about us, not us, but like as people within the game and as the youngsters within the game, that we have to create the difference. We have to make the difference. You know, he said well done to me. Which for me was like, well done, really me.
Even me, well done.
Well done to you.
Well done to you.
I think him and I had a bit of a rocky start to, if I would call it a relationship. But he picked up the phone and he said what he said, and I said what I said. And I think from there on out, we could then have flown with it. But I have an admiration for him because he's young. I'm young, and I'm probably the youngest agent in this. The youngest agent per se of people that do it right. I'm the youngest agent in this game that then understands the difficulties that come with being young. Because it's all good and well to break into a space, but when you break into a space at the age of 52 or 40 or whatever, it's like, you know, but as a 30-year-old, when you break into the space and now you start becoming a head coach, you start taking on the industry as an agent and you start creating that kind of change. I'm not, please don't think I'm relating myself to Rolani, but a lot of it resonates with me. Because it's difficult to break in. You know, but once you're in and once you're given the platform and you do as well as he's done, as well as he's succeeded, I can only but look at that and admire it and say that it's a beautiful journey. You know. So Rolani, I have a relationship with a lot of coaches. Please don't put me under fire. Don't put me under siege. I have a really good relationship with a large host of coaches. I would love to name each and every single one of them, but I don't think this is the platform. So for coaches, I'm Coach Brandon, because I appreciate who he is. But for me, my coaches and admiration and is really Rolani.
And is there a difference in being an agent for a coach as opposed to a player? What are the slight differences?
They're not slight, they're very vast.
Oh, okay.
They're very vast. The application is not the same. The application is definitely not the same. How you look at the transaction, what you're trying to achieve with the transaction, they're very different. But I think the journey is made a lot easier when you know what you're doing and how you're getting to that end goal.
So let's move on then to the next segment. This one is about the players. So it's no other coaches. Now we move on to the players.
I don't speak players before 2008. I can comfortably tell you that. Let's speak players after 2008, because I started varsity in 2008. So let's do that.
No problem. So from that time, some of the players that were your favorite and that you admired.
For me, Gifley Remy, I can comfortably tell you, Gifley Remy, Orlando Pirates, black and white, packed stadium, watching a derby. My mom took me to my first derby. I don't know, she used to work for the SABC, and we then got tickets and whatever. So my mom took me to my first derby, I remember. Excuse me, and Gifley Remy. I can tell you, Gifley Remy. Absolutely loved the style, the flair. I myself was not a stylish footballer, but that was it. Who else? Cheese Boy, Sundowns Cheese Boy. Sundowns Cheese Boy, fire. Fire. Was somebody else that I Tabo Tiki Tiki Muki. Yes, definitely. There was something about him. Who else? Skara Ngobese. Skara. But the only reason I love Skara is, with all due respect, that turn that he does. He controls the tempo of the game.
No,
definitely not. Not. And for me, I resonate with that, because it's very important to control, 1, your emotions, 2, your delivery, 3, your attitude, 4, your application, and everything else that you do and how you do it. You get what I'm saying? The last footballer for me, footballer. Maybe, does it have to be South African footballer?
Anyone who
Thiago.
just inspired you.
Current footballer, Thiago.
Alcantara.
Yes. No, that is my guy.
He's just got his own style,
I'm going to name my son Thiago. Yes, I'm definitely going to name my son Thiago. So
that is really beautiful. So before then we head off and we conclude, so I'm going to throw you a bit under the bus here. I want you to give us.
I might sidestep, but okay.
You might sidestep. No, it's not that bad.
Okay.
So we do know that the season is almost underway. There's a couple of weeks left of pre-season. What are some of your clients that we should look out for in the new season?
Definitely sidestepping that. Are you asking me like next deals coming up?
No, not deals. In terms of playing, like who should we look out for, knowing that this one is definitely going to have a good season. This one is this one is that. So it's got nothing to do with deals. This segment is about playing. It's on the field.
Playing. Okay. I'm very keen to see what I've done at Stellenbosch. Vusi Sibia, Sihle Nduli, as well as Gomezulu, the striker. I do believe that under the guidance of somebody like Coach Steve, Mto will start banging goals. He might not get it right in the first month or two.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, after he scores his first goal, it's gonna be bang, 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 bang. You know, I do foresee Vusi leading Stellenbosch. I do foresee him being the captain of the team. He's got that trait and that character within him. I see Sihle succeeding very, very well.
Yeah, he's a hard worker.
Yes, and that's exactly why. And that's exactly why I do foresee him doing well. Then, who else? Dumisani. I'm here for that Dumisani success, because not to like throw a parade or a victory dance or do an I told you so, but it's just one of those things that I know I want from like I want it from a part of my soul. That's how much I want it to happen.
I want it too for him as well.
Yeah, that's how much I want it to happen. You know, and I know it's going to happen. Yeah, you know. Then who else? Zita will do very well. Yeah, Miguel will do very well. Yeah. I do see a very different season for Mbonchane. I see a very different season for him, because
did something.
No. The goalkeeper coach, Coach Tyron. Yeah. He knows how to bring the best out in people. Yeah. He does know how to bring the best out in people, and I think a big part of Sia not being able to then get to where everybody knows him to be was because something wasn't there that needed to be there. And now that it's there, hopefully then there is that outer shell that is broken, and he succeeds with that. Ethan. Yeah. I don't see Ethan staying in South Africa much longer than this season, when AmaZulu do very well. Yeah. Probably staying just this season, his Bafana, back in Bafana. Yeah. And then from there, that whole AFCON vibe, we're going for that. That is definitely it. So Ethan, I'd love to see Zita get a fair chance at the national team, but that's not for me to decide.
I'm glad that you highlight it's not for her to decide.
No, it's
because
not for me
the
to
misconceptions in South African football is that agents are the ones who are deciding the head. Bafana, putting their people.
I must put it out there. Yeah. You know, agents, when things are great, agents are great. When things are wrong, agents, you know. So it's almost like my mother says this sometimes. You know, you want to blame me for everything. You want to blame me for everything. Yeah. You know why? Why do you want to blame me for everything? Yeah. You know, somewhere somehow as people, is the responsibility also has to be taken. But that's really not for me. Yeah. Who else? I have a youngster. I have a youngster, but I'll tell you about it in the second segment, because I can't put it out there, because he's signing for a PSL team from NFT. Yeah. He's 21. Yeah. I did a bit of a tussle. Okay. And I got the deal done. Okay. So in part 2, when the season, let's say maybe when the window closes, we can have this conversation about who to look out for. I still have a good few transfers on the table. Yeah. Because I want to make all of that work out.
Oh, okay. So we can definitely have a part 2.
No, sure, why not?
Comment.
Why not?
Like.
Why not? No, definitely we can. And maybe then we'll chat how the season has started, players and hitting the ground running, because I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. Is you have to hit the ground running. Yeah. You know. And I'm very, very interested to see what happens this season. Yeah, same. The market is saturated with free agents, and I'm very, very interested to see if there'll be a change in the dynamics of South African football. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, I got 2 more questions.
I thought you said 1 more. Okay, cool. Let's go. Let's
2 more questions.
2 more, sure.
Which moment in your career stands out for you thus far?
Wow. Wow. I'm trying to think. I really am trying to think. Yeah. I'm trying.
This is the part of the show where now I give people, you know, their flowers and give them that platform, you know. So throughout the episode, we've been discussing certain things, you've been educating us, But now it's time to look at the one moment that we look at and we say, wow, that was a great moment.
Wow, that was a great moment. Okay, yeah, I think maybe.
Yeah.
Veli Motwa from Chipa to Amazulu. Veli made a promise to me when we signed. So the bubble was so difficult because of COVID, and we didn't know who's coming, who's going, what's happening. Are we gonna survive? Are we gonna live? Are we gonna die? Is football over? You know, and
oh my God, we're gonna die.
That was really it. That was literally it. And there's no more football. And what am I gonna do
with my life?
My mom was like, "Yeah, maybe you can use that law degree." And I was like, "But I'm using it now."
Yeah.
You know? So Veli steps into my office, gives me a call, steps into my office. I've been given a contract extension for him.
Yeah.
Like life, it was really one of those take it or leave it moments. And he said to me, if I take it and I do well, what next?
Yeah.
And then I made him a promise, and I delivered on that promise. So that for me was a very standout moment.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything else, because it was a sentimental moment. It was really a sentimental moment. The other standout moment for me was Terence Mashego to Cape Town City.
Yeah. Big.
It was, especially because no one saw it coming. No one saw it coming. People don't understand why Sidat, why this. It doesn't make sense. Nothing. Like, it just, life was, and it was like, but how did you get it done? And I'm like, by God's grace. Done and dusted. So maybe those two. I have a lot more, I must be honest. I like the Kaizer to Cape Town City.
Yeah,
that was also a nice one. It was a great one. I think there was I have a lot. I really have a lot more. I think Amigo's dominance at Amazulu over the past 2 seasons, his ability to play and how he's been able to play. That was stand out for me. That was lovely.
Yeah. No, this is why you have to come there for part 2, because I know you're doing something there for my mans.
They've been a lot of really good moments. I must be very, very honest with you. There've been a lot of good moments.
Yeah.
And all of them really stand out to me because of the emotion that was carried by them for that, for that moment that I would have essentially have been able to bring to them.
Yeah.
And because that was the way it was carried out, and because that's the way things worked and how they happened, this is essentially where we find ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And in closing, what would you tell the young woman, young man out there who wants to pursue and walk this journey?
I'm not being sexist or anything. I'm really not being sexist or anything, but I don't think I would like to speak to the young man because it's a lot easier for him. I would say to any young girl out there is it's possible.
Yeah.
That's the first and most important thing that you have to realize is that it is possible. You probably won't get it handed to you on a silver platter.
Yeah.
But however it comes, take it, grab it, hold it, and don't let go.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, no, give it to him because he can. Don't do that. Don't ever.
Yeah.
Don't. Somebody will turn around and say, let this person do. Don't.
Yeah.
Hold on to it. You have a dream. Hold on to it. Cherish it. Appreciate it. It's very important to appreciate it. It's extremely important to pray about it because prayer guides your journey. That's very important. And over and above all of that, it's very important to believe in yourself. Once again, stupid story about my mother.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, my mom always used to say to me, the world is your oyster. It was something she said to me every day for probably a few good years, I must be honest.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those things that she used to wake me up with every day. She used to drop me off at school and she'd say, bye, love you, kiss, hug, the world's your oyster. Every single day, without fail. And you just it then becomes that. It's entrenched in your mind.
Yeah.
It's entrenched in my mind that there's nothing I can't do.
Yeah.
Because you were raised to believe it. So you have to, as a young black girl, wherever you are, whatever your circumstances are, whatever you come from, it's not about that. It's about where you want to go to. And if this is where you want to get to, then believe that you can do it.
Sure. Yeah, guys, you heard it. The world is your quina, not oyster. I'm joking.
Oh, wow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was yet another special episode of Dstv Talk with Leolo. Basia, thank you very much for spending this beautiful evening with me, and also educating us. You know, I feel in our game we don't have that. We have a lot of sensationalism, and with sensationalism, a lot of things get lost in translation, and we end up not understanding what's what. So I truly appreciate this moment where you were able to educate us, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy this episode. And the nice thing,
they do.
No, they will. And the nice thing is, you will be back for part 2 when you have time from your busy schedule, and then we'll have a look at some of the transfers then which were wrapped up towards the end of the window, those type of dynamics, and players, of course, like you mentioned, hitting the ground running. So
very important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy that one, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell as well. Like, share, comment, and please do give me a super thanks as
Thumbs up.
well. So, that was yet another special episode of Dstv Talk with Leolo.
Signing out.